So it has come to my attention that there is recently a viral internet debate over whether or not 100 men could kill a gorilla. And to that I answer, of course! Of course 100 men could kill a gorilla! That's 100 men! What? I feel like this is a symptom of a lifetime of having your brain poisoned by nature documentaries. You're a man! You're a man! Have some pride in yourself! What are you, identifying with a gorilla like a child identifies with a T-Rex? Because a T-Rex doesn't have a bedtime? Fear not. You have a disease and I have the cure. When I was in high school, I had a very good science teacher, and this very good science teacher told us, kind of cryptically, that every documentary has a narrative, and you should always be aware of the narrative. And then my immediate question was, what about nature documentaries? Those just show animals. And he said every documentary has a narrative. And he put on a documentary about animals. And I was watching the documentary trying to figure out what he meant, because I respected him enough. He was a smart guy, he was a nerd, he played Dungeons and Dragons, and he liked power metal. Cool guy. Shoutouts to Carl. I don't think it's cool to say the teacher's last name nowadays, because doxing and everything. So the documentary was very dry and British and rather boring. And one of the girls was like, can't we watch that Planet Earth thing that's in 4K and has the super nice pictures of animals? And he said no. And he was very forceful with his no. And he didn't tell us what to think when he showed us this documentary. He simply said there was a narrative. Now, as I said, I watched the documentary and eventually came on some mountain goats. Now, these mountain goats stood on mountains and chewed on little weeds that grew on the side of the mountain and were content with their lot in life. And in any other documentary, you would have seen the mountain goats, heard them describe how perfect their balance is, and then they would have moved on to another animal. This documentary talked about how great their balance was, showed one slipping, sliding down the cliff all the way to their death. And then, an equally shit at its job, cougar or something, goes and eats the dead goat. It didn't hunt it, it didn't scare it off the cliff, it just found a goat and ate it. And then the narrator tells us in a very calm voice, sometimes goats fall and sometimes predators don't actually have to hunt anything. And suddenly, it kind of blew my mind. I was never some kind of animal kingdom cuck who's like, oh my god, if only I could be like a bird, oh. Swear to God, I was arguing with this girl who's like, oh, humans are the worst animals ever. They're so mean, and like planes, they have to look at the wings on birds in order to make planes. Regardless, always a humanity fuck yeah kind of guy. I was never so low as to think a mountain goat is better than a person because it can balance. However, this documentary really illuminated something, and that's that animals have lots of flaws besides the ones that you can see. When you have a dog or you have a cat, you see your dog and you see your cat do plenty of stupid things. As impressive as a dog being able to leap on top of a bed despite being so low to the ground, it will sometimes turn its head and gonk it into a chair leg. These are details that are cut out of nature documentaries. And it gives people this wildly unrealistic view of how effective animals are. They see 4K footage of animals having no flaws for 90 minutes at a time, and then they're just like, yeah, a gorilla could totally take on 100 men. 100? It is like the apex, like the fucking pinnacle of brain pollution. If you said 3, I would be like, oh, maybe. But men are strong. They can punch really hard. And yeah, gorillas are strong or whatever, but have you ever seen a gorilla actually move and use its body? It's so clumsy. When it throws something, it falls over and has to catch itself. And we're really supposed to accept that because this thing, essentially living as a weird forest cow, has lots of muscles, that it is somehow coordinated enough to match up to a person that knows, like, basic wrestling. The gorilla can bite, the gorilla is strong, but its instinct when confronted with a fight is going to be survive the fight. All animals lack medical care or any ability to avoid dying from an infection. So the most aggressive animals that are most prone to fight are weeded out of the gene pool. Because even if they win a fight, they can still get a cut, get an infection, and then die and never reproduce. To this end, if 100 men just yell at a gorilla, it has a great instinct to not attack, because 100 men would be loud as fuck when they're yelling. In fact, 100 men yelling could drive the gorilla away. They could make it move. And no, I'm not suggesting it would be a stalemate. Humans also have the greatest endurance out of any animal. Humans can accidentally ride a horse to death. They can kill a horse accidentally. The horse will just walk for too long and then die. This is a trait that is unique to humans, that we have incredible endurance, and beyond our endurance, we're also awake way more hours of the day. Think about lions. They go on one hunt every couple days or something, and then they're lounging around all the time. Even if they're awake, they're just sitting there. They are largely conservative of their calories because they have to be, because they're so inefficient. This is a gorilla. It eats leaves. It's wandering around the forest, lounging around eating leaves all day. This is something that's not designed to be calorie efficient. It doesn't have to be unless it's going to fight 100 men. At the very worst case scenario, you could say it would be a draw, because there's no way the gorilla would have enough calories to kill 100 people on a diet of only leaves. It doesn't have the calories. Now, all of a sudden, you have 100 men who can comfortably be awake for 16 hours, driving the gorilla away, pushing it to different locations, forcing the gorilla to walk far more than it would normally walk, scaring it so that it can't eat leaves while it's walking, because when animals are afraid, their digestive system shuts down. There are native tribes with not a lot going on in terms of weapons and tactics and anything, and they can still chase animals until they die. And my third point is, a lot of people are thinking about the gorilla fight as though they're the gorilla. You're not the gorilla. You're a man. While if you were possessing a gorilla body, maybe you could direct the gorilla to have brilliant tactics and do hit and run, attack and then retreat, kill one man at a time like you're the predator. But a gorilla is not you, and a gorilla is not the predator. The gorilla is a stupid monkey. It does not have advanced tactics. It is not a predator. It is not a hunter. It would have no fucking clue what to do if an army of men attacked it. And fourth, and finally, my question is, what is this fight supposed to be on Final Destination with all items turned off? Fox only 20XX? No. Why is that the assumption? Why is the assumption that it wouldn't take place on Earth? It would be in some Final Fantasy Square Enix boss arena where there's nothing in the terrain. No matter where on Earth you would have this fight, I can think of something I can pick up and hit a gorilla with. And you, dear listener, should also be able to imagine something in every location you can beat a gorilla with. That is what makes you a man! Even if this is in the gorilla's home territory, there are rocks in the jungle. There are sticks in the jungle. I can take a stick and in no time flat scrape the side of it against a rock or a tree or whatever and then sharpen it down to a point. We don't have to get super advanced. We just pick up any rock that is slightly heavy, any stick that is slightly thick, and then shape them into makeshift spears. Throw rocks at the gorilla comes charging at you, you and a dozen dudes stab it in the chest. And even if you're forced to fight a gorilla on Final Destination with no items, a gorilla is not making it through 100 fucking dudes. If 100 dudes all tackle the gorilla and start punching it in the face, yeah, someone's gonna get bit, someone's gonna get a little cut from his teeth, they're sharp, I know. But what the fuck is this idea that the gorilla is so powerful it can fling people like it's King Kong? This frustrates me to no end, because when you hear the proposition of whether or not 100 men could defeat a gorilla, you should immediately wonder what you can do in that situation to be able to defeat the gorilla because you are a man. And if you are suddenly drafted as part of 100 men to defeat a rampaging gorilla out of the zoo, you must do it. That is what a man does. To immediately assert that the gorilla will win, and to mock people that think that men would win, are losers. They are admitting that they're a loser who would let everyone else in the zoo die and not even try to fight the gorilla. This is some doomer mentality. If you tell me that there is no way 100 men could defeat a gorilla, what you're telling me is that you will fail me. You will not be there if I need you to help me fight a gorilla. And so when you say a gorilla would win, you should say so with shame. The shame that is saying I would fail 99 of my fellow men because I am completely hopeless in the matchup of 100 men versus a gorilla. But you need not be like this. you can redeem yourself. Declare to me in the comments that you will stand by my side and slay this gorilla. If you can gouge out just one eyeball, I will gouge out the other, and our brothers will bring down the beast. Because even if it survives its blindness and can slay all 100 of us blind, it will still die of an infection in the jungle. The absolute worst case scenario is a draw. But we will do better than that, men, for we are men. And one thing that men do that no other creature on this earth does, and that is make war.